responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
Hello and welcome to Salaam Namaste. Broadcasting live from the Now Media TV studios in Houston, this is Saji Salam. This evening we have a very special guest on the show. We have Dr. Anish Mohammed, who is the co-founder, chief scientist and CTO of Panther Protocol, which provides privacy for DeFi. He has more than 20 years of experience in security and cryptography, half of which was dedicated to researching cryptographic algorithms and protocols at research groups, including Microsoft. Anish was an early advisor to Ripple and Ocean Protocol, as well as an early member of Ethereum Swarm, the Orange team, and a reviewer of its Orange paper. He was also a principal architect for Boston Protocol and has worked as a strategy consultant for Accenture and Capgemini. He has advised and worked for various banks and financial institutions, including Banco Azteca, AIB, HSBC, Lloyds, and Zurich. Dr. Anish Mohammed, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Let's dive right in, Anish. I would start with your journey to DeFi. I mean, many of our viewers do not know that you are a medical doctor who then went on to the world of DeFi. So talk to me about your journey. I mean, how did you move from med school and being a physician to this, a very different world of DeFi?
So, thank you very much for the very interesting question. It's more a series of events that led me to where I am. So effectively what had happened is I went to med school, I finished my med school, and I realized that definitely, even though I was interested in medicine, my expertise and my interest definitely, was very much in cryptography. So I was interested in quite a bit in cryptography. So in 2000, I was actually hired by Ericsson to work on micropayment systems. So I was exposed to the challenge of offline double spend, which is if you have money in the traditional world and you spend it, you cannot spend it twice. And then by a series of coincidences, I ended up being in the cryptography mailing list. So in 2008, when the Satoshi Nakamoto paper was actually Bitcoin paper was produced, I was on the mailing list. I read it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So yeah, that got me interested. And then in people offered me a possibility of being an advisor, and I accepted it. And And from there, when Ethereum happened, I became a member of the Ethereum Swarm team. And as things evolved in Ethereum, DeFi was part and parcel of Ethereum. And when that happened, as somebody who has been involved in the space long and hard enough, I became one of the people who was involved as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, very interesting. And now you are the chief scientist and CTO of Panther Protocol. So talk to us about Panther Protocol. What does it do?
So the way I would describe Panther Protocol is like in the traditional world, there's this construct or dark pools. Just like there's actually a book by Dan Robinson that you could probably read if you are really interested in understanding dark pools. It's the ability to actually buy and sell assets in the market in such a way that the buying and selling of assets doesn't really reflect the asset prices. So what Panther is, in the simplest way of describing, dark pool on demand with KYC and selective disclosure. So KYC is know your customer. So whenever you want to do a transaction, you have to go through the process of KYC. And whenever you have a transaction, there is know your transaction that happens in the background. So effectively, Panther is a mechanism by which you can access, DeFi with privacy and compliance.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So how is this different from the current state of DeFi? Are you addressing a gap here? How is Panther different from that privacy standpoint?
So if you better think about the traditional blockchain has no construct of privacy. Every transaction that you do is visible to everybody. So one of the challenges you have is like, if you have a strategy that you're deploying to actually, effectively whenever you want to make some money in a traditional sense, you have an alpha. Your alpha in a normal blockchain is visible to everybody. So if I were following you and I see that your strategy is doing very well, I could copy your strategy and immediately the alpha you have will disappear. So this is literally what happens. So this is actually not there when Panther is deployed. When you go on Panther, your strategy remains private. And also the second bit is like traditional DeFi doesn't have the ability to provide you with KYC and KYT. So effectively, in addition to KYC and KYT, there's this construct of selective disclosure. Say, for example, you live in the US, you do some transactions and you want to reveal to IRS that all these transactions were done by you. So this is a functionality that Panther provides. So privacy, KYC, KYT, and selective disclosure.
Mm-hmm. So why should I use Panther? What are as a user? What are the benefits? Is that the privacy? What else? And then you mentioned KYC and KYT. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about KYT as well for our viewers. But what
Sure.
are the as a user, why should I use Panther?
So as I was describing, the key thing is like imagine you are somebody who provides liquidity in a DEX, decentralized exchange. So take the example of Uniswap. So imagine you provide liquidity in a Uniswap V3. So you actually doing this is a private activity. And even though this is a very legal activity, you really don't want to reveal to everybody that you actually are providing liquidity. So I'll give you an example. When Arbitrum had an airdrop, there was somebody who made like 2 to 3 mil US dollars by just providing this. And whenever somebody does something like this, everybody will have different opinion on people and things like that. And the fact that you did this will be known to everybody. So if you are somebody like this who actually wants to do a strategy where you're going to make money, you probably don't want everybody to know. That's one. Another could be that you want to do staking, right? In Ethereum, now it's proof of stake. So you stake large amounts of Ethereum to do that. when you do staking, one of the things that is happening now is like, A, the fact that you have Ethereum is known to everybody. B, if you make any transactions, which is like withdraw or do anything else, that'll have significant impact on everything else. And, one other bit that I should probably say, and I know we're going to talk about this a bit, is the fact that, in the US, there's been a bunch of rulings, and they've actually given out a number of, addresses which you shouldn't be transacting with. If you're using a protocol like Panther, Panther would actually prevent you from actually interacting with such protocols and getting exposed to the risk of interacting with non-regulated addresses.
Interesting. So what are the opportunities for the Panther protocol in the DeFi space?
So the opportunities for Panther in DeFi space is to start with, it's like, any given protocol, any given composable DeFi protocol. So I should probably describe the construct of composable. So DeFi has this construct of being able to layer different protocols. You could actually use, two or more protocols to achieve a result, right? So I was just describing in a previous instance, somebody actually providing liquidity to Uniswap, right? So, and I also mentioned about staking, right? So for example, let's assume staking, and let me, describe liquid staking protocols. So in the case of staking, which I was describing previously, so, somebody comes in and actually does staking for Ethereum. You could use a protocol like Lido, right? When you go into Lido, you can actually restake. And now you could take the tokens that are actually given to you by Lido protocol and then use it to stake in some other protocol. So this is like you're in Ethereum, you get some Lido tokens, then you take the tokens and stake it in some other place, right? So this is like what I describe as composable. So all the different set of interactions that you actually have in DeFi, if there are strategies that you actually want to have and you actually want to have compliance, you could definitely use Panther.
Interesting. So, so what is the space there for, for Panther in DeFi? How much, if you talk to me in terms of a user base, the addressable market and such, what do you see as the opportunity for Panther?
So, addressing this, addressable market might be a bit difficult because it's an emergent market. So the regulatory thing that has happened, which is like the case against Oneida Cash, happened like last year, late last year. So that's kind of emerging. And the other bit about it is like the fact that, when you have like composable DeFi and people actually do transactions, the people that typically would be using a protocol like Panther would be people who are keen to do transactions even when gas costs are high. Because the thing is, like, whenever you provide privacy, there's a cost to doing privacy. So if you were to do a transaction and then you were to use Panther, so the cost for doing so will be slightly higher. So, in the sense of speaking, so you should think of this as somebody going to McDonald's and consider having a burger, and Panther as being a smoothie. You would never go to McDonald's to get a smoothie, rather you go for a burger. So that's the way I would describe it.
Okay. Very interesting conversation so far. And Anish, when we come back after a short commercial break, we will talk more about cryptocurrencies, stable coins, and the like. So we'll be back after a short commercial break.
What if this happened to you when you're alone? Or what if it happened here? With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Don't wait. Call us to get your Care Watch right now. Operators are standing by.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company that time you're spent with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back as we continue this fascinating conversation with Nish Mohammed. We covered Panther Protocol and the various features of Panther Protocol. But let's take a step back, Anish, and talk about cryptocurrency and stable coins. There is a lot of gray area out there in terms of all this. The vocabulary is still new. And people like me also have not made the effort to do a lot more research that is needed. I'm just an investor. I bought some Ethereum and some random coins. But beyond that, let's dive into a little more about what is cryptocurrency and what is the difference between cryptocurrency, blockchains, and stable coins.
Okay, so I shall try with a very simple example, explain what cryptocurrencies mean and what that translates in terms of blockchain, and what is stable currency. So, typically speaking, if you and I were to meet, in my wallet, I'll have some money, and money is a bearer instrument. So whoever has some money actually would be able to use it to do whatever they want to do. So if I were to give my money to you, Saji, then what happens is in my wallet, if I give you $100, my wallet will have less $100. So in a digital world, if I do that, because copying is easy, I could double spend. I could give you $100 and I still might keep my $100 in my wallet, right? So this is the problem of double spend, which is like you have one coin and you could spend it more than once. And paper currency, if you look at it, it's very hard to copy. And this is the reason why counterfeiting is hard, right? That's the first thing. So the mechanism by which you actually prevent this is, a data structure called blockchain. So first bit is cryptocurrency, and the second bit is, blockchain. And now talking about, stable currencies. So cryptocurrencies in general have volatility. What that means is the price of cryptocurrencies go up and down. So the oldest of the cryptocurrencies is Bitcoin. You probably have noticed it has reached $70,000, $70,000 right? So it has gone all the way down to below $20,000 the last year or so. So there's huge volatility between the two. So if you were to have one BTC and you wanted to, use it to buy something, given the volatility, by the time you have this transaction being bought, the price might have varied quite a bit. So you want to have something that actually keeps the value. So it's worth whatever amount in US dollar terms, right? So, US dollar does have volatility, but that volatility is not visible to you and I, right? So what stable currency is a mechanism by which you have a new cryptocurrency that actually is tied to a stable $1. So the value of that remains 1. So typical ones are USDT or Tether, USDC, and a bunch of other ones.
Mm-hmm. So these stable coins are tied to the US dollar. So those are the ones you mentioned were tied to the dollar. But you could also have stable coins that are tied to some other currency, like the Swiss franc, whatever. That's currency related
you could
stable
definitely
coins.
It's very much up to you as a designer of the stable currency to tie that to whatever you like. If you and I agree to a coin that's regional, and you can have a stable currency that's tied to the regional currency, whichever that is.
Okay. And in our previous conversations, you talked about some of the reasons for adoption of stable coins, and you mentioned the adoption of some coins in countries like Argentina, Turkey, and could you speak about the use case for that, and explain to our viewers what's going on in these countries, which is leading to that adoption?
So, in countries where there's a significant amount of inflation, so effectively the way I would describe it is like if you have like 20, 30, 60% of inflation, so the price you normally pay to buy something shoots through the roof. So even if you had $100 or 100 local currency, real, whatever it is, right? Pound, real, whatever it is, right? So depending upon whether it's Lebanon, Turkey, or Argentina. So now what you have is like the money you have is actually depreciating value really, really fast. Imagine you have the ability to actually work somewhere. So for my project, I had people from Argentina working for us, and we used to pay them in stable currencies because it really helps them. So the stable currency will retain the value, and they have the ability to then convert that into the local currency whenever they want. And their loss is very limited, so you do the transfer instantaneous. So if you have like $100, the $100 gets transferred into the local currency, into whatever that is, and then you can buy whatever you want. So overall, your loss is like not really tied to the loss of the volatility of the local currency or the inflation of the local currency. So this is quite normal in different parts of the world. This is very well understood and very well practiced. Definitely in Lebanon. So if you were to go to Lebanon, USDT seems to be one of the biggest stable currencies that's quite common in Lebanon. So if you're going there, if you have USDT, you can buy most things what you want. Similarly, in Turkey, in different parts of Turkey, you could definitely get USDT to do what you want. And definitely in Argentina, definitely seems to be a place where if you have USDT or USDC, you can get whatever you want.
Well, so let's go a little deeper into that. I'm understanding that the people in certain countries where their currency is losing value are concerned about that. I mean, the fact that their money is becoming worthless, and so they want an alternative to that, something which does not lose value like that. And then, so for them, it might be easier to buy a stable coin than buy a dollar in the gray market, right? So that is kind of where this is going. And so a stable coin, though, is not issued by a certain country, but it's tied to a currency, correct? Is that understanding fair? Okay. So,
yeah, I mean, the way I would describe it is that these are coins issued by entities. So, say for example, USDC, that was actually, issued by a U.S. entity, but there were some actions taken against it. So, USDC has come down, and the U.S. issuance of USDC has come down. And similarly, USDT, which is Tether, as they call it. Tether is the bigger of the two in that sense. And there are other stable currencies as well. So there's DAI as well. So the thing here is like there is a mechanism that actually works behind that actually allows stabilization of the value. So there will be buying and selling of assets in a crypto sense in such a way that the value of this particular coin token remains as whatever that's pegged to. So, if that's actually being backed by some, money that's being held in some banks and things like that, sometimes volatility happens. But this is the instance where when Silicon Valley Bank actually went down, there was a few hundred million or a few billion of USDC's, assets held by Silicon Valley Bank, and there was a perceived debugging of USDC that happened for a short period in time, and then which went back to normal.
So in a sense, stable coins are also dependent on the asset they are issued in. So for instance, if a stable coin is issued in the Argentine peso, right? I don't think there'll be many takers because the underlying the currency here is falling by the day. So is that
that's a fair way of thinking. So the thing here is like whenever you have a currency, you want to have it pegged against something major. So if you were to think about euros, if you want to do euros, you can do a stable euro. Actually, there is stable euro. And there are other ones as well. So you could easily issue a stable currency against one of the bigger players. It's like, if you have, a player that has an international currency that's being, exchanged by other people, and this quite stable. So it could be GBP, Euro, US. I don't know. You could name it, and then you could actually construct that. So you will have some other underlying assets which is used to stabilize this. So there could be lots of different assets you can have. When you talk about Tether usually has like, U.S. Treasury bonds is one of the underlying assets.
Interesting. So I think there's a lot more to talk about stable coins and the nature of global finance these days. So let's talk more after a short commercial break.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company, the time you spend with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Welcome back. For the viewers out there, the world of currencies is changing fast. And this is a topic you cannot ignore for too long because these changes are happening as we speak. So let's continue this conversation on stable coins and the adoption of those and digital currencies that are and will be issued by more countries in the future. And we have here the expert on this topic. And so let's continue this conversation with Anish Mohammed on these. So Anish, we were talking about stable coins and the adoption of those in countries like Lebanon and other countries where you're seeing inflation being a challenge. And I foresee that these challenges are only going to increase in terms of the global financial turmoils. So in that context, I think it is important to talk a little bit about the adoption of these and some of the risks around that. And for instance, I think we talked a little bit about the risk of shorting these stable coins by some entity or the other. So how do you see that being different from shorting of other currencies issued by a sovereign nation, let's say the GBP, for instance?
So in a financial engineering sense, the risk is more or less the same. You should almost think of the stable currencies as similar to the behavior of nation states, issued currency, right? So, I just want to bring back this thing. If you remember George Soros, when pound was actually decoupled, literally he shorted pound, and apparently he made a couple of $100 million. The thing here is like when you do shorting and you do shorting against a smaller currency, the end of the day, if you have more money than the currency will collapse. And that's why when countries have like weak economies, their currency starts going down. And when people start shorting, the currency will completely collapse, right? Whereas if the nation state is big and the reserves are big, then the ability to actually resist something like this will be bigger. And what happens is somebody who actually shorts it might end up losing all their money. The assumption is that they buy this off the market thinking it's going to be cheaper. If it's going to become expensive and they are unable to actually buy this at a cheaper price, they literally end up actually paying so much. So, if they try to do this for a longer period of time, if the loss becomes significant, as a logical actor, they will stop doing shorting. That's how this happens. This applies the same way as it applies to a currency for a smaller nation. So you should almost think of this stable currency as almost like equivalent behavior as to currency of a small nation state.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So now let's talk a little bit about the two topics here. One is commodity-based stable coins, and then we'll talk a little more about CBDCs. So, so to your point, we discussed a little bit about the stable coins being tied to currencies of other stable nations. What about commodity-based stable coins? What are you seeing seeing in that space? Are you seeing gold-based stable coins emerging? What other commodity-based coins are you coming across?
So, there have been different kinds of stable currencies that's been created. If I'm not mistaken, there are stable currencies that actually have gold base. It's like typically what happens here is you can arbitrarily think of any asset that actually holds value. In theory, you could actually have a stable currency against diamond. You could have a stable currency against silver. You could have a stable currency against gold. The thing would be like you describe what a value would be pegged to, in the sense like what is one arbitrary coin worth. So it could be like one arbitrary coin is worth whatever value in gold. Then what would literally happen is you need to have a mechanism by which you can buy and sell gold into the market. So that will be the mechanism. There will be like a physical entity that actually buys and sells gold. So at any point in time, a given unit of currency of that particular stable currency will have enough of gold backing it. So any random commodity, you can actually have a petrodollar for that matter. So you could actually have like, if I'm not mistaken, Venezuela did try doing something like this. So Venezuela has like a whole amount of petroleum that they produce, and they try to produce dollars pegged against it. I don't know how successful that was, but yes, you could definitely do that. You could do petroleum, you could do gold, you could do iron. I don't know, like I'm just making this up. Like whatever that's stable and everybody agrees that's a certain value, you can actually do that.
So I think the relative or the another major piece here in terms of adoption is the access to these currencies, right? So I think one of the reasons where stable coins become more usable is the access part of it, right? So for someone who is in Lebanon, it's easier to buy a stable coin than go to some store somewhere or some bank or some third party to buy physical dollar. So would the ease of use or the ease of access to these coins be another factor in adoption, where you can just buy this online? How do you see that being a factor in adoption?
I think that the thing here is I'm quite surprised by the kind of adoption you have. So I have friends who are from Lebanon. I have a very good friend of mine. His name is Ramsey. He's from Lebanon. Whenever he travels there, he says, whenever you want to buy something in Lebanon, what you need to have is to have stable currencies. And that's kind of surprising to me, right? You're not considering these places as having the best internet connectivity and the best kind of infrastructure, but definitely seeing that option of cryptocurrencies there. So I think your thesis could be very much correct. The ability that somebody could actually get, a stable currency from somewhere quite easily helps the whole situation. Plus, having, this is my thesis. The thesis is that, remittances from other parts of the world really helps. So if you think about Lebanon, that's a very large community of people that are around the world who actually remit money back into Lebanon. So when this money is coming in this sense, cryptocurrencies would be a very good mechanism for them to send money. And so the recipient at the other end could actually use that and do whatever they need to do. So, these are the two things I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting that, people living in different parts of the world have a very different view of stable coins, right? So I was not aware of the extent of adoption of stable coins in a country like Lebanon, because I'm not in Lebanon, right? And I think the use case for someone who lives in a different country, where the financial system and the currencies are stable, is very different from someone who is not. And I think that is where I see that the need for adoption being so much. And so that was a very, very interesting perspective that you brought to the conversation, which I was not really aware of. So, my question is then, would adoption of these coins be in these countries initially? Is that what you think, where there is, inflation and the value of the currency dropping in a crazy manner being the driver for adoption?
So, in these specific instances, if you were to think about Argentina, if you were to think about Lebanon, if you were to think about Turkey, if you were to think about places like that, Venezuela for that matter, the fact is, when there's unstable countries, unstable economies, and the state currency that's been issued by the nation state is actually inflating in a crazy manner, it really makes sense to actually do this in such a way that go get some stable currency, so your exposure to this unstable currency is limited. So that's my thesis. But again, I don't know A, what the world will look like tomorrow, and B, I don't know what would be the currency which everybody would be trading tomorrow. So all of that is kind of unknown. But as it stands right now, what we know of is this thing that already is happening, where people are actually using it.
Mm-hmm. It's been an interesting conversation so far, Anish. Let's come back and talk a lot more about the future and the direction in which the DeFi world is moving. We'll come back after a quick break.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Welcome back as we continue this very interesting conversation with Anish Mohammed on all things DeFi. So let's talk a little bit about CBDCs as well. I know it's not exactly DeFi as you would define, but in terms of what's happening in the world these days, and many of the governments starting to come up with digital versions of their currencies. I think this is becoming more and more important. And some of these currencies are not just intending to use it within their borders. They're looking at targeting users in other countries where there's a need for access to some other stable currencies. And I think basically bypassing the currencies in those countries. So let's talk about what's going on in the CBDC world. There was a recent announcement by the Fed, the U.S. Fed, that CBDC is not coming too soon. But on the other hand, there is a lot of talk about other business interests and entities thinking that that's not the case. There would be more, there could be a CBDC coming from the U.S. very soon. So let's talk broadly about what you hear about CBDCs across the world.
So I shall admit, I don't keep a very close watch on CBDCs because it's very much more, how could I say, politically aligned. And I'm not a most politically savvy person, as Saji, you probably know. I am more interested in facts, less interested in politics, more about finances, economy, and financial engineering. So, do I see a possibility of CBDCs existing? Absolutely, yes. Do I see that happening in the next year or two? I don't know. It very much depends on things. It's one of the things that people should probably recognize, and why adoption would not be that fast is because the existing institutions are not well prepared to actually, adopt on to go onto the CBDC race. So, say for example, if tomorrow the U.S. were to issue, US CBDC, the challenge you would have is the problem. The problem is all the banks that are in the U.S. should have the ability to go online and be able to transact instantaneously on that. But I don't think they are there yet. So that's one of the things that one needs to consider if you were a politician who is interested in introducing stable currencies.
Mm-hmm. So adoption is where you are seeing the adoption as a challenge because of the infrastructure, the global infrastructure for these CBDCs not being there compared to stable coins. Is that the existing stable coins?
That would be an easy way to think about it. Please go ahead.
So I could be wrong here in my thinking, but are you thinking that there is much more infrastructure out there that makes it easy for the existing stable coins, let's say in this case Tether, to transact than a CBDC from the U.S. government at this point? Is that
absolutely. That would be like, let's imagine which of the normal banks that we know, the bigger players in this ecosystem, JP Morgan, Chase, Citi, you name it, like who has the infrastructure right in place to actually do CBDCs, right? So what that means is your credit card works in CBDCs. You have the ability to pay in CBDCs. None of those things exist, right? Whereas in most of the countries that we described, you have wallets that allow you to actually pay whatever you want to pay. You could go to a grocery. So, for example, there's this application called Red.Pay. You could actually put some, stable currency into it, and you can take that application on the phone, and you could just tap the phone to actually pay for whatever you want. So that infrastructure doesn't exist as far as I know for CBDCs, but that exists for stable currencies.
This is a very much of a game-changing conversation, Anish, because I would think, or I thought that the U.S. government has more reach, from to users across the world than some of these stable coins. So that is it's one of the key things that I learned, and I'm sure that is something many of our viewers would also take away from this conversation, because it's just the opposite of was what I was thinking. So if we go down that path, then it will be a while before, let's say I'm just picking on just one country, where we heard a lot about CBDC being rolled out. So it is not as easy as it is, as we think it is for even a government like the U.S. government to roll out a CBDC, because the infrastructure is the missing piece. The financial infrastructure is the missing piece. Is that? And so
they're not incentivized
until that is in place.
Yeah. So banks are not incentivized, right? Currently, they make all the money using normal dollars. What is it in there for a bank to change all the infrastructure to adopt CBDC with no upside? This is the question. What's the economic incentive?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it looks like the real world of or the world in which we are living now and transacting using our physical currencies, and maybe a little bit of digital, commerce, e-commerce, and the like, has not really caught up to the world of cryptos and DeFi, so there is that gap, which I think has to be addressed before these governments can go ahead and issue CBDCs. Is that a fair summary of?
I think that's a fair way to think about it. And also, if you were to think about the size of cryptocurrencies and the size of US dollar market, US dollar market, I don't know how much is the amount of liquid US dollar in the market. So it's that those are in trillions. Most of the cryptocurrencies are in billions, right? So, and because it's a small market, it can actually move really, really fast. So when there's a massive, massive market, it takes its own sweet time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that's a fair argument too. So let's talk about the future of stable coins, DeFi, and also the role of Panther. Now coming back to Panther in these kind of transactions. So what I see, and I could be wrong, but I'm seeing more political instability. I'm seeing more economic instability in I would say, the next 5 years for sure, and maybe for the next decade, because of a lot of the global realignment of economics and politics that is driving it. So in those scenarios, how do you see the future of currencies? What do you see? What is the path forward? How does the common man adjust from the purely from the currency standpoint?
I don't have an easy answer to that question. It's a hard one. So, I don't think US dollar is going to disappear anytime soon. So anybody who actually, has money in US dollar, they should still be able to transact. And, even though, China and other entities are trying to replace US dollar with their own currency, I don't foresee that happening that easily. So Euro, US dollar, and similar pound and things like that still be currency that will still be transacted in. And there's always a foreign exchange risk, which is an FX risk, as you might call it in traditional finance. So, if you understand what your FX risk is, you should be able to balance yourself. You could have a balanced basket of various things. And you might even go as far as to buy some gold and de-risk the risk as well. So you might have some gold, some silver, some platinum, some US dollars, some GBP, some euro, and then you have a basket. So your basket overall retains value.
Mm-hmm. So my question is also around the adoption of stable coins in a scenario where there is a lot more financial and instability from a currency standpoint. So how do you see that impacting adoption of DeFi is the other thing I'm trying to get to.
So I think the adoption of DeFi, I don't know if it has a direct correlation between instability in various places. So DeFi in general actually has like a lot of the tooling. So think of it this way. So it's like if you go to traditional finance and you were to look at the mechanisms and you move it across the crypto space, literally what is happening is DeFi is pretty much the instance of you finding something in the traditional finance space and move it across to crypto. There are some specific instances which doesn't exist, like flash loans and things like that. But in general, that's what it is. So it doesn't really have like a very strong correlation to volatility of any kind. But it's just that when cryptocurrencies go up, so if you were to think about it right now, the total amount of assets in the crypto space has gone up quite a bit because of the increase in price of BTC. So there will be, a lot more DeFi protocols running. So it's like, it's a product of probability. So you have one DeFi protocol that actually has 10% of something else. So when the third thing appears, which is like, it's just going to be 10% of the second thing. So the third thing to have enough of volume, the overall volume of the ecosystem has to be massive.
Mm-hmm. So maybe so probably what I was getting at should have been in terms of terminology. Maybe I was referring more to the stable coins, right? That's what I was referring to. So do you see stable coin adoption increase when there is a lot more financial?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, as things go up, the total volume increases, so stablecoin adoption easily increases. The thing is, like when they have on the other side, so when BTC goes up, the total amount of BTC that's hedged against volatility of the stable currency, it increases, so it can support more volume. So definitely, there is more still currencies available. So absolutely.
Okay, so Anish, I would have loved to have more questions here, but we're running short of time. So thank you for taking the time. It was a pleasure talking to you and getting our viewers up to speed on what's going on in the world of currencies. And thanks again for joining, and good luck with what you do. And for the viewers out there, we'll be back same time next week.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll